Day 16 of Green Bay Packers training camp was today. Now, today was a closed practice to the public, but it was open to the media. So let's go over all the highlights we have from today's practice and then also go over the takeaways, all the new injury updates from preseason week 2, which players returned and which players are still out of practice. Now, the Packers have an open practice tomorrow and then also on Thursday, a joint practice with the Seattle Seahawks ahead of their preseason week 3, the final preseason game on Saturday. If you want to stay up to date with everything Green Bay Packers, I would highly suggest going down and hitting the subscribe button. You'll find updates, highlights, takeaways from every single day of practice for the Green Bay Packers. And then heading into the season, tons of news, analysis, and updates for your Green Bay Packers. So definitely go down and hit that subscribe button. All right, so let's dive right into this thing and bring this screen up and get this started. First with a couple of roster moves. The Packers have made two new roster signings, including waiving 2 players as corresponding moves. The first signing, and you can see him on the screen here, is a new defensive lineman, and that is Devontae O'Malley. The corresponding move was waiving with an injury designation defensive lineman Keith Randolph. Devontae O'Malley is an undrafted free agent from this season who signed originally with the Tennessee Titans, but was waived 2 weeks ago. He played at Northern Illinois, where he tallied up 22 and a half sacks, another camp body for this defensive line, with Keith Randolph being injured. Also with a new addition to the injury report of Kenny Clark, which we'll get into all the new injuries. With a back injury, it makes sense the Packers bringing in another camp body for the D-line. Another signing that the Green Bay Packers made was at defensive back. You can see on the right side, number 38, and that is that they signed safety Jalen Simpson, who was actually a 5th-round draft pick out of the 2024 draft class out of Auburn to the Indianapolis Colts. Now, he was most recently with the New York Jets this offseason, but he was waived on August 2nd with an injury designation, a hamstring issue. Doesn't seem like that was an issue, as we see here he is practicing today. Now, at Auburn, Jalen Simpson played both cornerback and safety, and similarly to the defensive lineman signing, this makes a lot of sense with all the injuries the Packers are going through with that safety room, with Xavier McKinney still out with injury, Zane Anderson, and then this past preseason game against the Colts, we saw Omar Brown leave with a chest contusion, and he'll be out for the foreseeable future. So the Packers adding a former 5th-round draft selection. I remember watching some of Jalen Simpson's tape out of Auburn. He's a versatile player. He can play cornerback, he can play nickel, he can play at safety. Another depth guy here. You see Bo Melton to the left of him there as well. Really liked what I've been seeing from Bo Melton throughout this preseason thus far. But I've also really liked Katana Ladapo, but Jalen Simpson offers a decent amount of upside here. I mean, this guy was just a 5th-round draft selection in the 2024 draft. The Colts moved on from him very quickly after moving him to cornerback, and that didn't work out. And then most recently, like I said, the Jets, but was waived with an injury designation. You know, with all these injuries, Jalen Simpson could be a dark horse to just rise up and potentially make the roster, but we'll see how it goes with one more week of preseason remaining. Now getting into other injury news, the main update here is that Jordan Love has already returned to practice and actually was involved a lot in practice today because the Packers mainly did some 7v7 reps, which Matt LaFleur typically doesn't like to do, but with Jordan Love, with the injured left hand, 7v7 reps keeps him very protected. There's no snapping in terms of center to quarterback, so it makes a lot of sense. And Love did return today and participated a decent bit in practice, as you can see him running onto the field here today. Some other injury updates. Marshawn Lloyd, it is classified as a hamstring injury, and Matt LaFleur said he will miss some time, unfortunately. Obviously, you know, Lloyd just continues to get injuries every single time we see a glimmer of hope or what he does on the field. Also, unfortunately, Barron Sorrell, it's the same thing. A knee injury, and he will be missing some time. So we'll see what that means with the regular season just a few weeks away. Barron Sorrell, I thought, has had a great camp thus far, so really unfortunate injury there. Some other did not participate in today's practice. Kenny Clark was out with a back injury. Lucas Van Ness, back injury. Aaron Banks, back injury. I mean, what are all these back injuries? Jacob Monk out with a hamstring injury, and Omar Brown, like I mentioned before, out with that chest injury. And players that are still out that were out last week: Jaden Reed, Tay Wicks, Savion Williams, Nate Hobbs, Xavier McKinney, and Zane Anderson. Another player that returned in today's practice with Jordan Love, and you can see him on the screen here, is Romeo Doubs. And you can see Jordan Love going through the reps here. He has a wrap on his left hand. It's not like that cast that we saw in Indianapolis during that joint practice last Thursday where he was barely warming up at all. We saw him throwing on the sideline in that preseason game, and it looks even better here. I mean, he's taking snaps, doing his typical drop back, warming up, and it doesn't look like an issue at all. Obviously, it being his non-throwing hand, but nice to see Jordan Love already back in pads, or at least half pads, no leg pads, just shoulder pads here. Getting the work in, getting the reps in, and this bodes well for him being completely 100% for the week 1 game versus the Lions. Obviously, with the left thumb injury, it's not a good idea for Jordan Love to go out there, take live reps with a center, potentially get that ball slammed into that left thumb, or have any risk of a player running into Jordan Love in 11v11. So like I said earlier, a lot of 7v7 work today for the Packers and Jordan Love, and it went as follows. Jordan Love finished in the first session of 7v7s 9 for 12. It did include a Javon Bullard interception, but during that drive, he also hit Doubs twice, Malik Heath, and Tucker Kraft. And again, there was no center. It was kind of similar to this 7v7. Jordan Love kind of having unlimited time to throw essentially, but still putting in the work, getting the reps. And it's great to see so soon after that left thumb surgery that Jordan Love's already, throwing around on the practice field. Here we can see Jordan Love has no issue with his throwing hand, that's for sure, as he finds the net right here in this clip. And also in the second period of 7v7s, Jordan Love had a beautiful corner throw to none other than Matthew Golden in the back corner of the end zone over Evan Williams and Javon Bullard. Already returning to practice and continuing that rapport with Matthew Golden is just great to see. Now, during the second period of 7v7s, Jordan Love also threw yet another interception. This one was to Evan Williams. It was the last play of practice where he undercut a Tucker Kraft goal line throw there. But nonetheless, it was a very rainy day of practice. These clips don't really show the rain here, but it started to really come down during practice. And although Jordan Love threw 2 interceptions in 7v7 periods, I'm not really worried about that. The key here is him returning to practice, right? And just being able to throw the football, get in these reps, do 7v7s, right? And I would see him returning in full after this next week, right? When a lot of practices are closed and we get ready for week 1, which is great. My main concern was him not getting in the reps before week 1, kind of sitting out all the way up until week 1 and then going right into that game after not practicing in full for a couple weeks, not getting in the reps with his receivers and Elton Jenkins at center. So it's really great to see such a quick turnaround for Jordan Love today. Now, it was a pretty light practice overall, but going over some of the other takeaways from day 16 of Green Bay Packers training camp, Colby Wooden was in for Kenny Clark, who, like I said, was out with a back injury. So he was the next in line for that position on the defensive line. And as for the replacement for Lucas Van Ness, that was JJ Enagbare. Now, the offensive line with Aaron Banks being out with injury today was as follows. Rasheed Walker at left tackle, Jordan Morgan plugged in for Aaron Banks at left guard, Elton Jenkins at center, Sean Ryan at right guard, and Zach Tom at right tackle. I've been very impressed with Jordan Morgan throughout these first 2 preseason games at left tackle, and it seems like that is his best position. But it still is nice to have the versatility here that Jordan Morgan can play either left guard, right guard, or left tackle. So we know how the Packers build their offensive line and how they draft. They like versatile offensive linemen, and that's exactly what we're getting with Jordan Morgan. But I truly believe that, yeah, he is a left tackle, and that probably will be his best position. And I think he truly has a chance to take over that starting spot from Rasheed Walker at left tackle, and it's definitely an open competition right now. As I mentioned earlier, Romeo Doubs returned into the mix, and he had multiple catches today, but he also had a couple drops. Got to get that cleaned up. It was when it was downpouring, so I'll give the benefit of the doubt there, but you can have rain in games just like against Detroit last year, and we had a ton of drops in that game, so got to work on that, got to get better at that, but it's nice to see Doubs at least return to practice. I'm still shocked that Tay Wicks is out. It was a calf injury, and it was, 3 weeks ago at this point now? Really would have liked to see Tay Wicks participate much more in this training camp, but you got to be cautious with injuries, soft tissue injuries in the lower legs like a calf injury, so the Packers just being cautious there. But hopefully the Packers start to get healthy at wide receiver soon. Edge rusher Aaron Mosby also seeing a lot more action today with both Lucas Van Ness out and Baron Sorrell out. Either Aaron Mosby or Deslin Alexander, who's made some flashes in camp, they have the option to make a push for the roster right now for a special teams role at edge defender with all these injuries at edge. You know, we have LVN out with a back injury, which I'm sure he'll be fine for week 1. Baron Sorrell, really uncertain when he'll be back. And then Colin Oliver has yet to even take a snap and likely is going to start the year on the PUP or just head to the IR. So someone like Aaron Mosby, Deslin Alexander, either of these guys could definitely make a push for this roster. And then to wrap up the takeaways, Brandon McManus, even in the rain today, was 6 for 6, giving his total on the year in training camp 64 of 67. Just feels so great to not have to worry about kicker at all. But those are all the highlights and takeaways from day 16 of Green Bay Packers training camp. Expect a little bit more tomorrow, it being a public practice. Hopefully we'll get some 1v1 clips, maybe some 11v11 clips, but don't expect Jordan Love to do anything more than warm-ups and 7v7s this entire week. Like I said, go click subscribe to stay in the loop with everything Green Bay Packers this offseason, heading into the regular season. Again, we have a practice tomorrow and then the joint practice on Thursday, which I'm really excited for against the Seattle Seahawks. Really appreciate you guys coming by. I'll catch you on the next one, and as always, go Pack Go.